Hi, it's the end of the summertime here in southeastern United States, and you're back with Henry's Garage. Today we're going to go over what I do every spring and every fall. One of the things I do is I change my oil, usually in the fall and in the spring as well as go over all the fluid checks, look at the antifreeze, wiper blade fluid, brake fluid, and any other fluids that I have under here. I also look at my alternator belt or air conditioning belt, make sure that that's in good working order, and then we go from there. So we're going to get into the oil change here in a minute. I hope you enjoy the video. Make sure if you find value with this video, you give it a click on the subscribe button or you ring the bell for future videos. So this is a 2019 Ram 1500 Classic. I got in and I noticed that I'm getting an oil change. My oil life is down to 0 and I need to change my oil. So today we're going to go over changing the oil in this vehicle. It takes approximately between 20 and 25, 30 minutes depending on how fast or how slow you go. Okay, so the items you're going to need for this oil change are I put this on the ground right here. This is just a shower curtain. You can get them now, I think, at Dollar Tree for $1.25. We actually have these in one of my bathrooms in my residence. So this is just an old one. I put it on the ground. It just protects where the oil might splash if it misses the pan. You're going to need an oil changing pan, a funnel for when you put the oil back in. I'm using a 1/2 inch to take the oil filter off. You're going to need a 24 millimeter. Take the oil nut out, you'll need a 13 millimeter to go on the oil pan. I change my oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. I use full synthetic. 5W20 is what's suggested for the Ram 1500 Classic. This is CH11665 Fram Extra Guard. I change mine enough that I don't buy the higher end stuff. When you get these though, and you go in and you buy them, make sure you pull it out and you check it, but you really want to make sure you get this gasket. Because if you don't get the gasket, then you could be in some serious trouble or have to use your old gasket, which is not a big deal. I do save a gasket from when I change the oil. Every time I save the old gasket, excuse me, the old O-ring gasket, just in case. This truck does take 6 quarts, and like I said, it uses 5W20. I have a headlight. Just in case. You usually don't need it in the daytime, and I have 1 glove, and of course you'll need a rag. Okay, so as in past videos, if you watch my videos, when you open the hood of the Ram truck 1500 Classic, right on the front seat, there's a pull release right here. Then you're going to come back around to the front, slide your hand along this lever, and as I've showed you in some past videos, there's a release mechanism right here, and it'll raise the hood. So the top of this truck is a little big. If you've seen any of my other videos, especially when I was doing the windshield wipers, it's hard to get up in here because there's a lot of engine space between here and the motor in a 4-wheel drive. So this is going to be your oil filter housing right here. So it's located just under the breather cap. This takes a 24 millimeter. And it's made out of plastic, so when you're removing this and replacing it, you don't need to put a lot of torque on it. I just kind of hand tighten it. We'll go over that when we change it, but I just want to give you an overview of where it's actually located at on the vehicle. Here's the oil pan right here. Your nut you're going to loosen is right here on the bottom side. So once you take that out, I just take it out and clean it. Then I let the oil fall into the pan. And here's my setup on the bottom under the glass. So I've broken the nut loose. I'm just going to unscrew it now. And it goes into the pan. And that's once you get the wrench on there, you want to pull down towards you. So in other words, you're pulling towards the right side of the engine. You're going this way to loosen it. You can add an extension on here if you like. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. It just depends on, you know, and you have to pretty much unscrew this thing all the way before you can do it by hand. Okay, got it loose now. When you pick up the filter housing, the entire thing comes with it. The oil filter is up into that filter housing. So we'll go over taking that off in just a second. Okay, so when you go to extract this, I'm just going to pull it straight out. And that's it. You have a little nipple right here on the top that seats into the bottom of the oil pan. And the gasket I was telling you about, I made the mistake the first time. You'll see it right here is the gasket. I made a mistake the first time when I put this on my very first oil change. The gasket, there's another extra rim up here where it would tighten. I put it all the way to the top, and I wound up going on a road trip not too long after that, about maybe less than a week. And during that week, I came to the back of my truck and there was a film of oil. It was about a 5-hour trip. There was a film of oil all over my truck grate, and I thought, well, what? I just bought the truck, and I thought, well, what is going on? Come to find out, when I got back home, I checked this, and there's 2 double rings right here. You want to go in the top, not the top ring, but this ring right here, the second smaller ring is where you want to be at. So it's it wasn't an expensive lesson, but I did almost use all the oil in my truck. Okay, so we got to put the new one on. I'm gonna open up the new oil. I'm gonna put a little. That's coated really well. Then I'm just going to slide that back onto that filter housing. So after that's replaced, there's a little knob in here that this fits in. You'll just take the bottom of this, no particular way, slide it up until you hear it click. That's it. Okay, so like I said, it's a little small nipple right here. You're going to slide this back down into it. You don't really have to push or do anything. It's going to seat itself. Just hand tighten. And then I give it about 3 turns with the socket. And that's it for changing the filter. Got our nut back in, and we got everything tightened up, and we didn't get anything on the ground thanks to our guard. So this is just a hand tighten. This is made out of thin tin, so you don't really want to crank this down super hard. You know, if you notice a couple drops on your driveway, then you crawl back under and check your oil nut or oil plug. But if not, it probably doesn't need anything going into the winter time. So your engine oil refill spout is right here. It'll say engine oil on it, 5W20. You just want to give that a half turn. It'll come out. I'll place it up here so it won't fall down in the engine. Put in my funnel. Actually, I'm going to use the bigger funnel for this one. I'll put it in the little funnel. I'll put my big funnel in. And then I'm going to fill it up with 6 quarts. 6 quarts of oil. So So also, after you replace the hood, you replace the oil cap, you go ahead and I would check the battery, just make sure there's no corrosion on your terminals going into the wintertime. Go ahead and check your brake fluid, check your brake fluid levels, and check your belt, check your air conditioner belt. Make sure that your hoses are in good order, everything looks good. There's no plastic, no rubber that's grimping or looks like it's bubbling. And just kind of an overall look at the engine while you got it up. Because like I said, I probably won't get back into this until the springtime. So unless something comes up. All right, we're just about to button it up. Finish up in just a few moments. I'm going to add, since we're talking about fluids, this is the windshield wiper fluid here. You can tell by the, by the emblem on the top. This is your radiator fluid over here. A lot of people change their radiator fluid out, or they go buy a radiator tester to make sure the antifreeze is good for the winter, especially if you live up north and it gets really super cold and you have to go through some sub-zero or really close to zero several different times in the wintertime. Probably a good idea to do it then. Here in the south, I used to do that. I don't really do that too much anymore. Vehicles now are really good. Doesn't mean you can ignore the antifreeze, but the antifreeze now is pretty good mix. So once you put it in there, if you've got no leaks, you're really good to go. You could do a radiator flush if you wanted to, but that's just strictly up to you. Okay, so we got everything buttoned up. We got back into the truck. We got it cranked now. It's running. We're gonna let it run for about 2 minutes. Make sure we've got no leaks around the gasket, around the oil filter housing. Make sure that everything underneath the truck is not leaking. We also had to come inside the truck and reset the computer. So the way you do that is you, of course, scroll to where your computer, where the oil reset function is located. It says hold this button to reset, and then it resets it. You got 100% oil life, and then that's the end. So now comes the fun part. We got to do the cleanup, which is takes a little bit, but it's worth it. And we're about to button this one up and put it in the books. So we're seeing the closing thoughts here in just a second. That just about puts this oil change in the books for this 2019 Ram 1500 Classic. I hope that you have gotten some value out of watching this, and I hope it adds to your next do-it-yourself project when you go to change the oil in your vehicle. If it has, please give me the thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'll be changing the cabin filter, should be my next video going into this fall, and I'll try to get a video on that as well. Until that video, I'll catch you in the next one.